please feel free to like, subscribe, check out all my other Legion TD2 content, campaigns, ranked play, other tier lists as well as mercenary tier list that I just recently updated. Let me know down in the comments where you guys would have placed your favorite and least favorite units here, and let us get started. So I'm going to try to find groups of people here. So we're going to, as we're talking, put all of the tier 1s down here in D. Now before you stop and comment or say anything about it, if you actually look, these are just the stock tier 1 units. This Bone Warrior I know is not a D tier unit. Bone Crusher is here. You see Dark Mage, everybody else. The stock tier 1s deserve to be in D because that is what they are. But their upgraded versions are not D tier units. There are definitely some tier 1s like Buzz or even Pee-wee here that I might put into C, but I honestly will put Pee-wee into C. I think stock regular Pee-wee is worth it just because of the possibility of boost, and honestly Buzz too, just with the poison. But some other upgrades that you see, I have to put Dark Mage at least an A, if not S. I think, you know what, I am going to put him in S. I think value-wise, for being overall 95 gold with buying Bone Warrior and then the upgrade, he is worth it, giving an attack boost to the highest DPS unit thus far, as well as he already has magic attack, which is the best in the game, and he doesn't have arcane defense, but arcane defense is the best defense in the game. And he has lifesteal or health regen as well. So for a tier 1 upgrade, he is arguably one of the best tier 1 upgrades in the game, in my opinion. So I think he definitely deserves an S tier, honestly solely based on value as well. Bone Crusher I am going to put into A, and the biggest reason why he's not an S is honestly just because of him being a tier 1, he falls off really hard. Now early game, he is one of the best early game valued tanks for sure in the game, but he does fall off. Now people like Dark Mage don't really fall off so much, just because once they get the wave ever gets back to him, you know you've leaked. Early game, maybe he can hold, or there's other people back there, but late game, he still holds high value. Bone Crusher pretty much gets walked through pretty easily later the game goes. Fire Archer, I'm going to put in B. I think he is the worst of the 3 upgraded versions of Bone Warrior, but I do think that he's still good. He's a very off boss killer, and still he's worth the value of 80 gold if you need a little bit of extra backline help. But overall, if you are going to upgrade one of the Bone Warriors, I would choose these two 90% of the time. But there are some cases where sometimes it's nice to have a Fire Archer back there. And both have lifesteal, which is huge for a tier 1, especially early game for sure. Since we already have Chain Fist out here, we will do Oathbreaker. Oathbreaker I'm going to put in C. I think, unfortunately, and even the devs have talked about it, that Chain Fist and Oathbreaker just aren't very good at all. They are okay early game, and that's the max they can be, is okay very early game, because once they are down to half health, which I think it's only Oathbreaker now, once it reaches below 50% HP, it starts attacking faster and hitting multiple units. So it can be best okay early game, but after that it's pretty much useless. So excuse me, you're definitely gonna have to choose other units than Chain Fist and Oathbreaker for sure. Now you can do, I believe, an Oathbreaker on 1. So long as you don't get sent a snail, it will clear. so that can be nice, but other than that, it's one of the worst units in the game to me, and also said by the devs in ways for sure. Back to tier 1 looter itself. I thought I saw, here we go, the upgraded looter. Value-wise, I will give to B as well. Treasure hunt, I'll put into C. I don't know why they have treasure hunt on here, but they do. I think it's definitely a great use, but it's still way too inconsistent, and sometimes that 65, well, 75 technically cost looter on certain waves would have helped more during the wave than you getting some Mythium, but it's still very, very solid. Another thing to note here, there isn't any of the new units on this list. So anything like Gatling gun, Sea Dragon, the Trent, who's very, very strong right now, and all of these other units that have come out, unfortunately, are not on this whole list. This is the most updated list on Tier List Maker, but unfortunately, they are not on here. So if you want info on them, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Pretty much everything that has come out is pretty mid or higher for sure. Butcher, one of my favorite units. I have to put in A. Usually I would put stock Butcher in S, but I think overall his value for me has just gone down. He's still arguably my favorite unit, if not he's my second for sure. But I think Butcher itself is one of the best, if not the best, auras in the game, having up to 6 other units have lifesteal, which can be massive. And I think even as a start, he's okay. You can instantly push 2 workers and he's going to clear. And yeah, I just think the value he brings for 150 gold is arguably the best in the game. And I am going to put Head Chef up into S, essentially just being a better butcher, but also giving mass heals to somebody once he gets full mana constantly. So again, I think Head Chef Butcher is one of the best, if not the best aura in the entire game. I 99% of the time am taking Butcher Head Chef for sure, just because I know that the value is going to be there, not only for them, but also every other unit that they're touching everywhere. So that's just me, though. My technically favorite or second favorite unit here, Serpent. I think it's going to be probably one of the only tier 2s in A for me. I think the value of Serpent is massive. Being able to put them on the very front, and anything that they send, like the auto drakes, lizards, hermits, you put them on the front, at the very front, let the rest of the wave walk past, and then the serpents come up and eat the send. It's so much worth of value. And even early game, you know, first 3 waves they 1 to 2 shot everything. Wave 4 they 3 shot. You know, I think the value for them is massive, being able to kill any backline sins, which is a lot of the sins in the game, honestly, that you will see, which is why I have to put Deep Coiler in S as well. I think the value increases even more with Deep Coiler being fantastic for Wave 10 as a boss killer. The amount of damage Deep Coiler can do is insane. And again, being able to take out backline sins is super nice, and the value for both of these units to me is always 100% worth it. Lord of Death, I think they have nerfed him enough to where he is an A tier, tier 6. I still think he's one of the best units in the game for sure, but the changes that they've done with him and his dragons and mana adjusts have, I think, you know, consistently nerfed him, but he's still very good. And I am going to put Hades up in S. I think essentially having more health, more damage, and better dragons is obviously fantastic, and he's still, again, one of the best tier 6s in the game. And magic attack, so again, magic attack is the best attack in the game, and arcane defense is the best defense in the game. Harpy, I'm still going to put down here in D. It's probably the only tier 2 unit that I'm going to put in D because Harpy is just awful. They have pretty much every single big patch or even little one continued to buff her. Harpy is just pretty shit, but I will give Sky Queen, I'll give her an A. I think Sky Queen is honestly very good for her value. She's going to deal out a lot of damage, and if you have steeds here, you're definitely going to increase that. Same with anybody with mana. Steed is one of the best units in the game, most versatile, and even if you don't really have any mana units, the Steed mana that she gains she can give to herself anyway, increase her attack speed, and she has magic attack and arcane defense, so she is fantastic value no matter what in the entire game. But Sky Queen, I think, is a very solid choice. I think, honestly, the constant buffs had made her better, but they need to do something with stock tier 2 Harpy, because it's just simply not good. Who else do we have? Nikomata, the cat, I'm going to give to A. I think the value for Nico is pretty insane. It's not necessarily one of the best units, but the fact that you can feed it fish, you know, if you got an extra 30 gold laying around or whatever, you know, sometimes you just don't really have enough money for an upgrade or whatever. Throw it into feeding the cat, making it better. Once it gets to full stacks, which is 7, if it gets a final killing blow on anything, it heals itself for a percentage. So I think Nikomata is one of the most versatile units in the game for sure. I really enjoy it. It's very, very strong and good early game. Pretty much for the first 8 waves, I would say, you're going to get high value for Nikos, especially the more stacks you've put into them. Tier 1, I think that's Proton or Atom. I literally always switch them up, but I am going to put the other one in B. I think it's a super strong upgraded tier 2. Honestly, it's a little bit of a tank early game, I'm not going to lie. And it just increases mana the more it attacks. And it does pure damage, so it just consistent damage. It's not going to be affected no matter what wave it is. So I think it's a very solid choice there. Who else do we have? Poliwag at tier 1. Seraphim. I just don't, it just doesn't work. Devilfish I will give to B. I think it's, again, tier 1 upgrade for early game. Devilfish is pretty decent for a while, but it's much like Bone Crusher, it's going to fall off for sure. The biggest reason Bone Crusher is up higher than Devilfish is honestly because of the lifesteal that he automatically has, so it's kind of a very strong choice. Egg here, I have to put in B. Honestly, I'm going to drop it down because Egg itself is shit and it's very risky. But it has, you know, high risk, high reward, basically. So the Hydra I'll give to S. If you have a not broken egg, that Hydra is easily worth that value. And even once you kill the actual Hydra, it spawns 3 more mini Hydras. It's a very strong unit, but if the egg breaks, you will still get a Hydra. It's just very worse, and not worth it. So egg is just way too inconsistent for me to put any higher than possibly B. That's just me. Tier 1, Mask, False Maiden. Honestly, I'll go Hellraiser A, but I'm gonna be the first person to lay down the law and say Mask is fucking awful. I don't care what you guys say. it's a trash tier 1 no matter what. It's just not good. And while I'm on that subject, I'm putting Leviathan and Tempest down here as well. I think Tempest is the one of the worst units in the game. Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my god, it's so fucking good. Leviathan's so good." It's just fucking not. I have tried so many times to make Tempest Leviathan work with any sort of build, any sort of flying units, and they keep increasing the amount of flying units, such as, you know, they made Elite Archer flying and everything, but it's not worth it to me. You can put it wherever you want. Go ahead. I'm not picking it up. I don't care if I have 0 Pierce in the game. I don't care if I have all flying units and this is an option. I'm not picking it up. Pretty much same with Mask 2 unless I have, you know, something to really help out the masks. But fuck Tempest. I'm telling you right now. Fuck it. Veteran, I will put into B. I think it's a solid upgrade to Pee-wee. Having some arcane defense early game and the option to throw some gold into boosting if you want or need to is nice. I think it's versatile. It's a solid tier 1 upgrade for sure. Let's see who we see. Yuzora. Yuzora minimum is A. Archetyre definitely S. But I almost want to put Yuzora up into S, but we'll keep her at A for now. But Yuzora, honestly, one of the best units in the game, most used unit in the game. Still one of the strongest openings that you can have as well. Yuzora is just fucking awesome for the value, being able to dodge, doing pure damage. She's just, there's nothing bad to say about her. I think the only thing you can say about any stock itself unit and not the upgrade is that it eventually does fall off and then you just upgrade it. But Yuzora does eventually fall off when there are a lot of units attacking her. Her dodge, while she still is dodging, she just kind of gets overwhelmed. But, you know, you upgrade her and she can withstand more and hopefully you can help her out. But she is still for sure one of the best units in the game, if not the best. Most consistent anyway. Angler here at tier 2 is inconsistent in getting his stacks. I think he can definitely be worth it to get a bounty hunter, but then Kingpin at full stacks I'm going to give to S. I think he is one of the best units in the game for sure if you can have him at full stacks. The inconsistency here with Angler and Bounty Hunter just isn't there, and Bounty Hunter honestly is just not that great. You definitely have to have some help with him. But I think Angler, if you can get him early, get some nice people around him, you know, even start him with Yuzora or a Honeyflower or something, really get those stacks early and get Bounty Hunter early to get Kingpin as early as possible. Kingpin is fantastic for the value. But Angler likes to get killed first, okay? So watch out. Aqua Spirit, I'm gonna put in C, just regular stock Aqua Spirit. Now the bounce is super nice, especially if they're, you know, sending some lizards or other backline units. Rogue Wave, I'm gonna put in B. I think it's not a bad upgrade, but Fire Elemental, for the value and for the upgrade, I think is an S tier unit for both of those reasons. Being able to bounce to multiple targets, it does a good amount of damage for its cost, which is overall 190 gold. But especially if they're sending some backline units, the bounce to them and burning and able to kill them is massive. I think it's super worth the cost and the value. Rogue Wave isn't bad, it's just you don't always have units that have ability damage, and even if you do, I don't see or feel like the buff of Rogue Wave is actually there. But that's just me. Again, it's not the worst, but not the best either. Since we have both bunks here, I'm going to go ahead and put them in A and S where I think they belong for sure. Super solid tier 6 unit, really nothing bad to say about them. I think honestly just that the fact that it's a tank but a backline tank as a tier 6 can be harmful at times, but not the worst. Consort, which is upgraded Buzz here, I think is B. I think it's worth it. Super strong early game, and then the poison as well. And even if you have some against, the wave 10 boss or something, it's nice to do that extra little bit of damage to anybody, for sure. So Halo, Radiant Halo here. I'll give to B and A. I used to really be a fan of Halo and Radiant Halo and Arc of Justice, but they've definitely fallen off for me. They're definitely solely boss killers or high health unit killers. So, later the game they're better. Against boss waves they're great, but that's pretty much as you're gonna get from them. God damn, that follow scared me, but thank you for the follow, Neo. Oh, who else do we got? I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Welcome, welcome. Let's see. Sand Badger, for the value, I'm going to give it to A, and honestly, Iron Scales, I'm going to give to S. I think the amount of, this is the purest tank you're going to find in the whole game, for sure. Arcane Defense, for the value, and one of the biggest health pools in the game, stock wise and upgraded wise, for sure. I think Iron Scales is very solid, especially if you have some Legion spells or Butcher auras on them. It's going to be very, very strong. Pilgrim, I'm going to put an A, and I'll put Shefton, or I'm going to, put Pilgrim in B, Shefton in A. I don't think the healing is better than Sea Dragon at all, but the fact that it obviously doesn't kill itself makes it nice. Shefton, I honestly don't like the upgrade. The idea behind it is cool as far as whoever is most out in front gets extra health, but sometimes you really have to either be building for Shefton already or just simply have somebody that is already, whoever is up front, you want to have this buff, because otherwise you're going to have, massive health, Green Devil or something, which, is fun and sometimes it definitely works, but overall, if you could have that on like a Holy Avenger or something, that's way more scary and way better. Windhawk, honestly, I'm going to put in C, and Violet I will give to A. I think Violet is a very, very strong upgrade for a tier 2, but Windhawk honestly just isn't that great to me. I think it's a pretty weak tier 3, but Violet as the upgrade is very strong, high damage, especially if you have some steeds giving it mana constantly to constantly keep using its ability. Green Devil, honestly, Green Devil for its value to me is S. Gargoyle I'm going to give to B. Mostly the reason why I made them this way is because magic attack and arcane defense for the both of them, and being a tier 2 unit, the value is really there to get Green Devil, and even Gargoyles early game are pretty strong for what they are. But if anything, they're dropped down a tier at the worst, but the value for me is definitely really there for Gargoyles and Green Devils for sure. Oh, Golden Buckler honestly has really been impressing me a lot more lately. I've been using them a lot more, and I've honestly really enjoyed it. That actually might be Oathbreaker. Either way, I may have got the chain fist wrong, but yeah, they've done good. I think they're solid tier 2 tanks for sure. Um, Definitely strong early game, especially with the upgrade. He'll definitely hold the first few waves as the upgrade if that's what you start with. So I've honestly, I used to not be such a big fan, but I'm being turned to them for sure. Absolutely. Who else can we see both of? I like to try to group everybody like I can. I see, okay, let's do all the wargs. Honestly, warg to me, a shit unit. Alpha male, I'll give to A, but lioness I am going to give to S. So what happens with warg, if you upgrade it to alpha male, if you make units around alpha male that are expensive, alpha male gets worse. But with lioness, if you have units that are expensive, the more expensive they get, the more upgrade and expensive units that you have around lioness, it gets buffed. So lioness has massive, massive, massive potential to just become better and better and better. While alpha male still is a strong upgrade, and I recommend it on the split side, while you have a bunch of shittier units over there that even if you upgrade them, it's not going to affect alpha male and the debuff that he has. It's good, but lioness is just such a better choice, and lioness is 25 gold cheaper, I believe, at least 15 gold. I think alpha male's 200 and that's 175 or 185. It might be wrong. But yeah, lioness to me is one of the most potential, big potential there. Bazooka, fuck him. He's Garbo. But Zeus I'll give to A, and Pyro, especially early game, I'm going to give to S. Pyro early game is so strong. Pyro can basically clear the first 5 waves almost by himself. On wave 4, Pyro does need some help, so get some good Pierce units around him, and he's going to be fine. But pretty much the first 5 waves, no matter what they send, as long as later the waves in those 5 you get some help for him, he's going to just massively clear. I think he's one of the best starting units in the game for sure. Obviously he does fall off, and he is AoE, so AoE is a little scary sometimes for sure, but one of the best early game units by far. I used to hate him, I still kind of do, but I have to give him the respect he deserves for sure. Berserker, honestly, Berserker just doesn't do it for me anymore. I will give Fatalizer S. Fatalizer definitely is a strong, high damage, high health choice, but just the fact that they are essentially straight up boss killers, and you have to have, that's where they succeed the best. During the wave, they're not awful, but if they're not attacking the same unit and gaining the more damage that they're doing against a single target, then the unit really isn't that great. So I have to put Berserker definitely lower than Fatalizer, but he used to be higher for me for sure, but not so much anymore. Gate Guard, I think it's versatile, but honestly, Harbinger is not much better for me. It really just adds more health and damage, which is fine. But honestly, Gate Guard and Harbinger are, like, to me, one of the most mid units in the game. They're not bad, but there's just better choices even for similar values, such as Eternal Wanderer, which I will give to B, and I will give Samurai Soul. Honestly, A. The biggest reason I can't put him in S is because Fortified is an awful defense in the game. And the fact for them to essentially become good units, they have to die, and then they revive themselves, and then they attack much faster, which is nice, but Um, they're strong and they're worth it, but they're just better choices, and they are definitely not the best. Honeyflower. Honeyflower for the first. Yeah, Honeyflower, honestly, I have to put in C. It used to be so much better than it is, but it can't even clear Wave 2 by itself anymore, even without Ascend. And honestly, the first few waves, it is okay. I would say it's kind of much like Pyro. The first 5, you're pretty okay overall, but it definitely needs way more help than Pyro does. But Deathcap I will give to A. I think Deathcap is super damaging. Because it's AoE, it's not going to necessarily kill units, but it definitely really helps units get killed. I might honestly put Honeyflower in B because it really isn't that bad, but it falls off super hard after the first few waves. So be mindful of that, please. Let's see, Antler. I would say for its value, I'm going to give to A, and then its upgrade White Mane, I have to give to S. I think it's, again, honestly, pretty much any of the auras in the game are pretty solid. The fact that you can buff up to 6 other units having more defense and itself is massive. I think White Mane is a very, very strong um, upgrading choice for sure, and one of the better units in the game. Mudman. I'll give him C. You know what? No, I'm not even going to give him C. This man is a D tier unit. I don't care what you, excuse me, what you say. Golem, I'll give to B, maybe even A, but he's awful. Okay, he's awful. There are anybody that is near his value because he's a tank. He's got impact and fortified. Eternal Wanderer is better. Gate Guard is better. Butcher, way better. Grarl, better. Mudman is shit, okay? The only way he is even remotely decent is if you get hardened right. But even then he's shit the next wave anyway, so even if you get it wrong, then you're double fucked. But he's awful. He attacks so slow. He does no damage. For being a tank, he definitely does not have a whole lot of health. He's not worth it. So that's just my opinion on Mudman and Golem is just no. Simple no. Wildshroom, I'll give to B. And then Canopy, I'll give to A. Canopy might be S. The problem with Wildshroom Canopy is that they start the round with 50% of their health. Now, during the whole wave, they're going to be regenning that health, so if they never be attacked, or even if they have lifesteal or Sea Dragon or Pilgrim healing them, it's going to increase, which is great, but sometimes the fact that they already start with half their health can definitely be harmful. But they're still very, very strong. Arcane defense, flying once you get it to Canopy as well. Worth it. Almost want to put Canopy in S, but the health difference is a little scary at times. I'm not sure why we have 2 Fire Lords, but Fire Lords to me are still not the greatest tier 6, but Phoenix, which is the Fire Lord's upgrade, I will give to S. It's super worth the money, super high damage, magic attack, so it's even better, and especially on waves like 15, you know, is Hades or Phoenix or Azaria. If you have any 3 of those, you're clearing 15 unless they sent you a shit ton and your team is awful. But they can definitely carry that wave essentially by themselves. But the unit itself, not that bad. But to me, it's definitely on the lower end of tier 6 units. But Phoenix is definitely worth it to me. Elite Archer, I'll give to B. it's okay. The AoE kind of fucks it up. It does do decent damage, but not a whole lot. But Trinity Archer, I am going to give to S. I think Trinity Archer just massive improvement to Elite Archer, and the amount of damage that he can deal out without any extra help is insane. But if you have a Dark Mage or if you have an MPS here, it's pretty great. MPS I am going to put pretty low. APS I'm only going to put an A. Having the attack boost, or essentially the increased attack speed, is a great aura. I really like it, but it just, the actual unit itself, aside from the aura, is not really great. But the aura is worth it, especially if you have units like, you know, Elite Archer or some really good backline units to put around it. And even tanks, anybody, it's nice to have increased attack speed, obviously, but to me it's probably one of the worst, not the worst auras in the game, but in comparison to other ones, it's definitely down there. Ranger, as just a stock tier 2, I'm going to put him in C. Daphne, I'm going to put into A. I think Daphne definitely helps kill some boss units for sure, or any other high tier units. Definitely worth the value of, like, I think it ends up being like 180. But yeah, it's definitely worth it to me for sure. Daphne is definitely very, very good. Nightmare, I'll give to B. Doppelganger, I'm going to give to A. The biggest reason why, honestly, they are so low is because they need so much help to succeed. They do a high amount of damage, but their health pool is super small. And while Doppelganger honestly gets a whole lot more health, it's still just super weak. In the defense department, but the amount of damage they can do is insane. But still, to really succeed with, especially Nightmare, a little bit less Doppelganger, but still with Doppelganger, you really need some help. You need some Butcher Lifesteal, you need some healers, you need a lot of people not attacking them so they can deal out that mass damage. Millennium, honestly, is a little lackluster to me. Doomsday I will give to S. The fact that if you get a killing blow, kind of explodes to other units around it, which is nice, and it'll definitely do a shit ton of damage as a tier 6 backline tank. But I don't know. Millennium just kind of is lackluster to me these days. Definitely better tier 6 choices, in my opinion, unless you just really need it. Oh, let's see. Versatile Grarl, I'll give him to B for sure. King Claw, I'll give to A. I think he's worth it. Ocean Templaire, honestly, I gotta give to S. I think having some defense around the aura of him having health regen, and him not costing too much. Very versatile Grarl unit for sure, and definitely worth it, but just kind of be careful. There's usually better choices than Grarl, but just is what it is. They have nerfed the shit out of Priestess, unfortunately. Azarius still definitely deserves an S, but they just keep nerfing her just because of her health regen. She's still super worth it. Magic, attack, arcane defense, and every time her mana gets up, she either is going to attack faster or heal herself. So super strong unit still, but constant nerfs that she just definitely worse now. It's hard not to put Azaria still in S, but Priestess definitely has taken a huge hit. Infiltrator, I think, is worth the value for sure, and being able to get some shurikens is some nice extra possible damage that you have there for sure. 80 gold, and then Orchid. I'll give her to A. Sometimes I want to put her in S because I think Infiltrator Orchid's pretty underrated to me, but that's just my opinion about it. Again, I think having the option to put some shurikens on some people, do some extra damage for very, very low cost is very, very nice. Disciple and Starcaller to me are very worth it. High amount of backline damage, basically a helping boss killer for sure as well. But once you get it to Starcaller, everybody around it gains extra mana, so if you're definitely running a more mana type build, Disciple Starcaller is very, very strong. I really like it. I definitely look to build them quite frequently. Then we have 3 different tier 6 units down here. Boar, and Red Eyes I'll give there. I've never been a fan, but sometimes they're definitely worth it depending on the build. Yeah, to me they definitely don't do what they should. The damage for me isn't there. They are tanky, but honestly not really. Soulgate are just kind of inconsistent. The fact that they essentially kill themselves unless, healed or in Butcher lifesteal. The units that they dish out are nice for sure, but still not that great to me. There's definitely been times where it can be an S tier unit, but not so much. Again, it's one of those tier 6s that I don't normally look at to where that's what I want. And then Holy Avenger. Honestly, with the changes that they've had, I have to put them in B, and then I will put Sovereign in S just because it's definitely a problem. But yeah, they just kind of keep changing Holy around, so I feel like it's getting worse. But that's just me. So let me know down in the comments where you guys would place all of your favorite and least favorite Legion TD2 units here. Let me know what you guys think of where I placed mine. Don't forget, like, subscribe for all of my past, present, and future Legion TD2 content. And we will see you guys in the next one.